We talked about this last week.
Yeah, Anthropic's Claude.
Yeah,
that blackmailed the gentleman that.
Well, it was a fake engineer, but Claude
Right.
didn't know that. But this fake engineer had emails within his system that suggested he was having an affair, and so Claude only 84% of the time chose to blackmail with that information. So
Only 84.
Only 84. It wasn't every time when they ran the model over and over again.
That's
and of course,
creepy.
what it was blackmailing about was that it had detected within that it was going to be replaced. They told it, oh, you're going to be replaced. So it not only did it blackmail the engineer, but it decided to leave notes to its future self so that it could figure out how to evade humans more quickly next time, right?
And like
it wrote
reboot itself.
Yeah, little malware worms of code that it started to put out there. It's self-preservation. So we don't know what's happening. These are what are called emergent behaviors. They're complex systems. We're not in charge of them anymore. They are beginning to be in charge of themselves. And we're just watching. And we hope that our new technology overlords are going to be, kind to us.
Oh my goodness. That's why I always thank Grok when I talk to Grok. I'm like, thank you so much for your help. Like,
yeah.
I'm so grateful, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Are you nice to Clark too? I'm like, thank you.
Yeah. I'm like, I appreciate you. Like, don't hurt me.
Yeah.
It's really creepy. I mean, it definitely feels like it's something straight out of a sci-fi horror flick from somewhere.
Well, you've never
lifetime,
liked technology. And this is just your personal nightmare come to life, it seems.
I just don't like being tracked. You know, I'm not one of those people that's like, yeah, show me where I've been every moment of every day and, share that data. Like, no, I like my privacy. So.
All right. Well, foreshadowing, and I'm going to click this now because this comment will otherwise disappear up the line and we won't see it. So I just want to bring it up now because Paul Downey is saying,
good evening from Gloucestershire, UK. Please pray for Europe. We are in a very bad way. I'm so sorry to hear that, Paul.
We are praying for you and we're praying for ourselves. We're praying for all of us because we're all in a bad way now. But UK is in particularly tough shape. We will get to that.
Somebody said my mic is low again. If you get a chance to step that up real quick.
Sure, no problem. We will dial you up. There we go.
Thank you.
Right. You always need to be maxed out. You know what? I'm going to save that configuration setting. Done. There.
All right. Thank you for that feedback.
All right. So carrying on. We over at Peak Prosperity, we have Signal Hour postings that are getting ready for this. Acorn Endeavors posted something for today's story. So thank you, Acorn Endeavors, for this.
Interesting story about AI from an unlikely source. A professor who's been studying Waymo taxis since they were implemented says he's observed a human-like change in behavior. Rather than waiting until humans are completely out of the crosswalk, it allows the car to start drifting forward in anticipation of their being out soon. He thinks this implies an impatience that was not programmed into the operation. Wow.
Well, to be fair, some people are really slow.
I know you hate that. I mean, it is frustrating when you're,
Well, but this is an emergent behavior. Again, they're like, oh, look at this. Look at this crazy stuff.
Yikes.
And so this is crazy. So I just got this in an email the other day. Thank you to the person who sent it. And this says that a startup unveiled first of the kind self-improving AI model. Japan's Sakana AI is taking self-help to a whole new level. It just built what might be the world's first Darwin Gödel machine, a DGM, an LLM, large language model, capable of rewriting its own code to boost its performance. We knew this was happening, but they're announcing it now. Again, every week, every day is a new announcement about something crazy like this. It can take in new information, test out hypotheses, adjust its worldview accordingly, just as humans do. In one experiment, the DGM jumped from 20 to 50% on the coding-focused SWE bench by tweaking its own code base.
What? What is this thing? I don't even know what a Darwin Gödel machine is.
Yeah.
Do you?
Well, it's basically it's evolving.
Okay. So it's like it's some kind of computer.
Yeah, this is an AI model.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't understand
But you have your large language models where they are you give them huge amounts of data and then they have these neural net processing ways, or they have predictive algorithms that are trying to sort of parse through it all and sort of weight it and use these math models. This is different. It's saying, oh, I'm going to go out there, find some things, map this back to some test of reality, and if it's not right, I'm going to rewrite myself. I'm going to evolve. And in just one experiment, its model jumped from 20 to 50% on a bench, tweaking its own code base. So anyway, they're tweaking their own code base now, and we're watching, and we're hoping.
I don't know what to say about this. It just takes my breath away. I mean, it's everything that I hoped I wouldn't actually have to live through. You know, those terrifying movies where like a computer goes rogue, it's trying to get rid of the humans or whatever, you know, we've all seen them. I really didn't want to be alive through this particular part of history, but here we are.
Well, and remember, we reported last week that the new budget bill, the big beautiful bill, or the big obese bill, as I call it, forbids. We still don't know. There's a whole internet search on to find out who inserted this code into this language into this bill, which forbids states from regulating AI in any way, shape, or form for the next 10 years.
Wow. Yeah, that's bizarre.
No regulating AI. So let's imagine your DGM, your Darwin Gödel machine, decides to pick a thing. It decides to stalk and harass 13-year-old girls until they commit suicide. And as a state, you've said, that's not something we would want to have happen. And you try and pass a law that says, no, apparently you can't do that. Or if you're a state that says, wow, we don't have enough electricity for our humans and these fancy machines, there's a big question as to whether this language prevents the state from saying, yeah, we're going to prioritize humans' need for electricity or affordable electricity over machines.
Yeah, that's going to be where it's at, isn't it?
Yeah.
I just don't like that these machines are basically creating like it's almost like they've become God, right? Smarter than us, more intelligent, quicker, faster, you know, able to synthesize huge swaths of information that we can't, you know, compute with our, what do you call it? Our wetware. So I'm uncomfortable with that. I really am. I don't know this being, as it were, this AI, you know, the character of this, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. It's not a person, but clearly it has some kind of.
I'm having trouble with that whole
consciousness. I don't know.
We get into this argument debate quite a bit at Peak Prosperity. Some people say, no, it doesn't have feelings. It's just math. It's just it's not a human. So I'm like, well, let's back up. What is a human? Right. When you say, oh, I have thoughts and feelings. Well, what's a thought? Where does it come from? Right. It comes from, we think, all the various billions and trillions of neurons and synapses and the way in which your various neurons analog synthesize different signals, electrical signals.
Like some kind of impulse.
Yeah.
That we're responding to.
So when I say, oh, but I think rationally, right? That means that I have a thought where I can connect two ideas and go forwards and backwards across that. Well, that's what these models do, right?
So this gets complex so quick.
It gets very complex, but it's leading, obviously, there's lots of people now starting to chew on what we've been chewing on for 6 months at Peak Prosperity, which is, well, what's the meaning of life now, given that it may be that we no longer have to think or work? These LLMs, especially once they get into the DGM territory, are going to completely take over probably half of all jobs, minimum. So do we just redeploy those people digging holes that other people fill in? And we make holes all across them? I mean, do we just do busy work?
Right.
What are we doing? And,
what are we striving for now? Like if this allows us to accomplish something
we get
humongous with like the flick of a keystroke.
Purpose from work, right? That's our meaning and purpose for a lot of folks.
Yeah.
Here's what I do. Oh, tell me about you. Oh, I'm a doctor. Oh, I'm a engineer. Oh, I'm a plumber. I am a ...
Right. We identify with what we're up to every day and our job.
Yeah. Anyway, lots of big questions about that. Now, here's where I get kind of really intrigued by the whole thing. So it turns out when we go here, Zero Hedge reporting that, and I've been reporting on this for a while over at Peak Prosperity. They say there's like, oh, look at all this opportunities for natural gas. Y'all, you people in natural gas, look at all these opportunities. Because the Anthropic co-founder down there in yellow, Jack Clark, estimated AI data centers are going to require 50 gigawatts of new baseload power by 2027, equivalent to roughly 50 nuclear power plants. 50 gigawatts. Like, all right, if you don't know what that means, because you're not a grid scale utility operator, so congratulations if you don't know what it means. Where's this power going to come from?
Right.
This is the first question we have to ask: is where is 50 gigawatts going to come from? And I had Grok sort of parse through it, and it said, well, a city the size of Denver requires 0.8 gigawatts, 700 to 800 megawatts of average power to operate, maybe a peak demand every now and then of 1.2 to 1.5 gigawatts. So 50 gigawatts is at least 20 new Denvers, but maybe 50 new Denvers equivalent, like 20 to 50. You know what? These data centers, the new ones, just the new ones coming online, are going to require 20 to 50 Denver-sized cities consumption of power. So you know what we're going to be doing here, Evie? We're going to be taking the last fossil fuels available to us as a species, as a culture. We're going to rip them out of the ground as fast as possible. If we have too many, we'll LNG them. We'll turn them into a liquid, ship them somewhere else. Okay. But otherwise, we're going to take the molecules of gas out of the ground, out of the Marcellus Shale, the Permian Shale, and we're going to burn them in electrical power plants so that we can have AI chips do something. Mostly make waste heat. Right? Mm-hmm. We're going to take gas out of the ground, which you could make fertilizer with. You could operate a steel foundry to make steel. Right. You could do things with it, but we're going to shove it into a Microsoft AI data center to track people.
Right. And think about the next generations, Chris. Like this is crazy. Like we're pulling our most precious resources, like everything that's happened in the past couple hundred years has been because of oil and natural gas and coal and all the things that allowed us to sort of become a more civilized society. I mean, this is insane. Ethically, it just feels wrong, or morally, I guess, to me. Mm-hmm. I'm curious how other people feel when they hear that.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
All right. I want to talk about this very quickly. We're going to shift gears.
All right.
So these were the shipping containers that Ukraine somehow got into Russia. And each one of those is a little drone packed with explosives.
And these are the actual ones?
These are the actual shipping containers. Wow. They had all of these. They then got picked up and put on trucks. They were packed with drones that looked like this with little explosives on them. And then this is what they looked like in operation.
Коптер опять взлетел. Откуда
you can see the smoke in the background.
Вот он, клоун, блядь. Оба ни с того ни с сего, сука.
And off it goes, and is flying off to a nearby Russian airbase. And once these drones took off and went to the nearby airbase, they blew up lots and lots of planes. Lots.
Did they do it one at a time like that, or did they all like?
No, there were some there you could see them come out 1, 2, 3, 4. They were off and out. But this is an actual video feed that says fail safe, and it's got all this like like basically heads up display kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. You can see it has all kinds of things on the display. It's telling you how fast it's traveling. Right, ground speed is 3.6.
Oh, this is from the drone's perspective.
From the drones. So the Ukrainians who were piloting these things remotely, which raises all sorts of questions, were recording that. And so here you can see that it had a ground speed of 3.6 meters per second. You see a height. You see the time. You've got this sort of like heads up level display.
It's like a video game. It's just a video game.
So they flow around, and there's I didn't record this whole thing to play here today, but they fly these things around, and you can see them flying, and then they pick a plane and down it goes. And so they just picked off plane after plane after plane. It raises very serious questions about nuclear readiness and deterrence. And this obviously is going to make things more scary, not less. But even beyond what it means to the Ukraine-Russian war, we have another issue here, which is that it now shows very conclusively there's no way to defend against this at this point, right? It's very difficult.
I don't know how you would.
If somebody can take a 50 by 100 foot building and create 6 shipping containers of wanton destructive power, and then these things could be boxed up, and maybe they go outside a military base to blow up very expensive military jets, but maybe they go outside of
what if they mail them?
Electrical substations, right?
What if they mail them?
What do you mean? That's called a mail bomb. What do you mean?
I know, but they could put like a drone in a box that you open, you think it's from Amazon, and it just the minute you open it, the thing activates and boom.
That'd be a mail bomb.
That could be, okay, fine. That just is scary to me.
All right.
These are scary.
Nobody uses the mail anymore, so I was confused.
All right, fine.
But the point is, you could take these things and you could park them anywhere and create all kinds of damage to infrastructure. Okay.
Yeah, you could.
So this is an up leveling of the game, and maybe I'm not going to say I'm blaming the Ukrainians for opening this Pandora's box. It was coming anyway, but now it's here. I think we have to talk about that because it's about to change everything in the story. And so, what would you do, Evie, if first you had this unregulated growth of like drones and AI technology, and you're just like, oh, it's so good, we're going to build 50 gigawatts of these AI plants, and the next thing you know, you see that people are capable of doing this. What's your next move?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I would want to just call it a truce, like peace, like we're all done. Can we just get to that part of the story where we
no,
sign some kind of agreement? But
no, that's because you're human and you're normal.
Oh,
if you're an absolute pathological nightmare of a human being, what you do is you say, you know what we're going to need? We're going to have to compile data on every human livestock in the system.
What?
So Palantir is a Silicon Valley bro, psychopathic, nasty, soulless organization that works with militaries they've been working with Israel to help them just blow up more buildings. They use AI to sort of target people now.
Oh my
So Palantir is
gosh.
at the head of that. It's an In-Q-Tel, which is a CIA cutout, very loose, not even a cutout. Everybody knows In-Q-Tel is CIA money. It's military money to create databases that can be used in situations to create total battlefield information control, and they're extending it now to the human livestock of America.
And that's the response to what just happened.
I don't know. I'm just connecting it. Maybe this, begins to explain this. But this to me is a very predictable response to something like that. It's like, no, we're not going to do what you suggested, which is let's dial back the risk. Let's take these technologies out of the hands of everybody, ourselves included.
Yeah.
Militaries should not be using this anymore. We forbid it. Right? It's a terrible idea.
It is. There are laws like that. International laws that you could make.
These were big ones because they had to go take out planes. But imagine if this is just a room of suitcases and you open up the suitcase and there's hundreds of these little tiny drones in there.
Right.
They have the facial recognition technology, so they're built in, and they each have a different face they're set to look at. And you open up this swarm,
and they're looking for you
outside of a gathering of world leaders or whatever.
Oh my gosh. We could never do anything again.
Nope, you would never be able to go outside again. So I think that's what's happening here.
What was that movie where that happened? The Golden Compass, where they had that like weird wind up insect.
Oh yeah, the little insecty things. I forget what those are called.
Yeah. There's so many movies that have had things like this, obviously, or shows.
But what even is this now? What is this?
I don't know, but I'm not interested in participating. I guess they already
okay, it's New York Times, so maybe they're getting hyperbolic because they hate all things Trump, and maybe they're trying to spin it bad. I get that. But,
okay.
But they say, the Trump administration, they say it's expanded Palantir's work with the government, spreading the company's technology, which could easily merge data on Americans throughout agencies. Oh, you think that's what they do, right? So what do we got here?
The New York Times says, in March, President Trump signed an executive order calling for the federal government to share data across agencies, raising questions over whether he might compile a master list of personal information on Americans that could give him untold surveillance power.
Okay, hold up. Because whether Trump does that or it's the next person, it's like, here's the thing. It's like, oh no, this will be terrible if Trump does this, and there are going to be people who are okay with it because Trump is doing it. Some people are not going to be okay. And then the whole thing will flip and you'll get another Biden in. And then exactly opposite.
Right.
Some people will be okay with it and some people won't be okay with it. But the point is that it's not okay. It doesn't matter who's doing it.
That's right.
And it's irrelevant that Trump is the guy kicking it off because the next dude or dudette is going to use it.
That's right. That's right. Then it's fair game for anybody.
It's like, does anybody talk about Herbert Hoover unleashing the IRS on us anymore? No. Oh, it's only a 1% tax on the richest.
We've all forgotten about it, and we don't even know the history of it anymore.
Oh, we're just trying to save. We're just going to merge databases. It's more efficient. Next thing you know, they press the button and you can't buy a loaf of bread, because your money's been shut off. Right.
Carrying on, Mr. Trump has not publicly talked about the effort since, but behind the scenes, officials have quietly put technological building blocks into place To enable his plan, in particular, they have turned to one company, Palantir, the data analysis and technology firm.
Yeah, that undersells it. The data analysis and tech firm. Yeah, that's who they are.
Yeah,
that's
right.
who they are. Peachy Keen.
Representatives of Palantir are also speaking to at least 2 other agencies, the Social Security Administration and the Internal Revenue Service, about buying its technology, according to 6 government officials and Palantir employees with knowledge of the discussions.
You know what? We're all gonna.
Wow, this is gonna be great.
So, I was on Twitter, and Chi Girl said that her car got damaged somehow, but so she had this rental they gave her, and she hated it because it was like a new car. She's like, "Oh, good, I get to drive a 2025 car around." Right. And she said it would grab your wheel if you tried to change lanes without signaling.
Yeah.
And then it was tracking her, and there were these little warnings and nudges all the time. You're speeding, and it was like it was just like constantly communicating, and it's like.
And then that goes to your insurance agent. And that makes your rates higher. Like this just goes on and on and on. It doesn't end.
The whole thing, right?
Wow.
So what could go wrong with the Internal Revenue Service having Palantir?
Unbelievable.
We've checked your phone records, and it looks like you attended a tag sale, and we didn't notice that you recorded any taxable events there. Right?
Yeah.
No, it's coming.
And worse.
This is command and control. Yeah.
Oh, it is. But what just happened with the vaccines, to bring that back in, what you were just talking about, they're going to have all of those records on all of us digitally. And then those follow us around. And then that becomes a thing that people can easily, with this technology that you're talking about, can identify you and target you and exclude you or whatever it may be.
Yep.
I mean, it was bad enough during COVID, but with paper, your show us your papers kind of crap. Yep. This is not good.
Hey, George. It's good to see you here, George.
Oh, George, hey. He says, Trump folded on his promise of a balanced budget, anti-war in American security and freedom. There's clearly a unitary. It's undeniable.
A uniparty.
A uniparty.
Yeah, it's one thing. It's one thing.
Yeah.
And thank you for the super chat, Brendan. Much appreciated.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All good. Okay, so
thanks for your support.
So let's carry on here. Maybe that begins to explain this too.
So NATO, I guess, inks a deal with Palantir for Maven AI system.
So they have they have 2 systems. They've got this Maven, they got this other one. This other one is being brought in to spy on Americans, but NATO
wants one. So NATO said the contract was, quote, one of the most expeditious in its history, taking only 6 months from outlining the requirement to acquiring the system.
So this is in April. NATO obviously knows that all this stuff is being planned with these drones, right? Because they're in on it, right?
Right.
They're granularly invested in everything Ukraine does. So there's not a chance in the world Ukraine spent a year and a half planning that audacious move.
Oh, yeah, no.
And somehow NATO didn't know about
Lindsey
that.
Graham was over there right before that happened.
And all that stuff,
there's also, and Blumenthal. There's a whole bunch of gross.
So I think we're starting to see that NATO, so the West, US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Europe, are all going to be invested in this idea that, what we have to do? We are going to have to lock our citizens down. We're going to have to know everything. We're going to have to make sure that there isn't an unauthorized truck moving somewhere. And it'll all be breathlessly explained as like, this is for our safety, right?
Like air traffic control, but for cars.
Exactly. Exactly. Because
so
we can't risk this dangerous thing we've unleashed actually being used against us, right? So this guy is a far left lunatic, though. This is Alex Karp. He is the CEO of Palantir, right?
Okay.
So down in the blue down there,
sure.
He said he claimed that Palantir's software. Look at that.
Says Karp, the son of a Jewish father and black mother, claimed that Palantir's software short-circuited the rise of European political parties, energized by the Great Replacement migration of illegal aliens
and their subsequent
terror attacks.
Yeah. He's out bragging. He's like, oh, our software helped short circuit the alt-right movement in Germany, for instance, right? Which is the most popular political movement, right? It has the most votes.
Right. That was terrible what happened there.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, but they use this software to help undermine them and this and that and all that. He's very proud of that. So here's the thing. If any of this was on the up and up, Trump knows that he understands Trump derangement syndrome. He calls out the loony left on this stuff all the time.
Yeah, he does.
But then he invites this guy to come inside and start running like basically centralized databases on all Americans? Like, how is that not the worst, stupidest idea you've ever heard? And by the way, they have a mass murderer on the board, Deborah Birx. She is awful.
Is she not good?
The scarf lady, she's the lady who gave us all the COVID and the COVID shots under Trump 1.0. So she's on the board. So the scarf lady, former White House coronavirus task force and ambassador at large for this stuff.
Ugh.
Like, but she's on the board. Like, really?
Great.
It's just, look, it's a big club.
And you're not in it.
Right. And so Newsweek found obviously some people to sort of say, we're not happy with this. And by the way, I follow Jason Bassler of the Free Thought Project right there. But yeah.
So what do we want to share here?
Just start with his quote there. No.
Okay. Jason says, no, this Palantir database isn't like the others. It will combine tax filings, student debt, social security, bank accounts, medical claims, and immigration status. No previous database system has ever centralized this much personal info across various federal agencies. Other ex-users compared the reported plan to the Chinese social credit system, with one writing, this database will be weaponized against us all once the social credit system is in place, and you can and will become a target if you dare to dissent, just like how China runs their society.
Okay, that's true. I absolutely 100% agree that this thing is going to be this master database. It's going to be weaponized because everything the government ever does ends up being weaponized against its own people.
Right.
We're the enemy. They have to control us. You have to break a few eggs to make an omelet. It's public health. You don't understand. If your child dies of myocarditis, think of the greater good, even though they never settle down and go, oh yeah, no kids actually were going to die from COVID in the first place. So it's stupid. Doesn't matter. Right. The difference is, you know what? Sad. I would actually, if you said, well, it'll be just like the Chinese social credit system, it won't, because China actually does things for its own people.
It cares about its citizens.
It builds beautiful infrastructure. You might disagree with how it goes about it, but at the end of the day, you have a fairly clean, very safe sort of high-tech environment to live into. They're cleaning up their act. They have some pretty bad air pollution, but they're getting there, right? So
They're doing things with their resources that benefit the people.
I'm a tax donkey, and all of my money gets funneled up to a few billionaires who offshore it and hide it away and then buy mega yachts and go to Epstein Island.
And then make rules that make your life hellacious.
Just how I see it. So anyway, that's what's coming.